Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a Friday night edition of Light Sports Ramble. As always, my pleasure. Thank God it's Friday. And the neat thing about this Friday, preseason football is underway this weekend. Football is back, folks. So 4 more weeks of preseason, then we get into the real game and we start the NFL season for 2013. How exciting is that? Football is back. And you know what? The first preseason game is always exciting because it's the first chance to look at the new people on your roster, the draft picks, the free agents. Even though a lot of them may not play a lot, it's just the excitement that football's back. So I'm actually all jacked up to watch some preseason football this weekend. But tonight what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up our fantasy series. And with that said, my endorsement for Fantasy World Order, which is FWO365.com. Again, go there for all your fantasy needs. If you're looking at forming a league, this is a great place to go. But let's get into it. Tonight we're going to talk about kickers and defense. And not a whole lot of argument's going to go on when I talk about the kickers. What you want to look at when you're looking at kickers are two things. One is you want to look at teams that struggle in the red zone, that are trotting their kicker onto the field and taking 3 points instead of 7. You know, there's your teams that you want to look at. So, you know, those teams that come to mind are teams like Buffalo, New York Jets, even Chicago right now. I'm not sure how they're going to do in the red zone. And maybe even the Saints this year with a different receiving core and a change in running back and how they're going to go there. That offense has changed a little bit. The other thing you want to look at is those teams that can score points, which are the Saints, the Packers, the 49ers, the Broncos. So you want to take a look at those two things. And also depending on your league. You know, I play in a couple different scoring leagues. Some leagues will give you extra points for distance. And so when that happens, you want to look at kickers that have the big legs, like Janikowski from Oakland, Prater from Denver. So those are some tips when you're looking at kickers. As far as the rankings go, I mean, I'm not going to tell you anything different than what ESPN is going to tell you. You know, you got Gostowski from New England, Walsh from Minnesota, Bryan Atlanta, Tucker from Baltimore. You know, I might move Tucker down just because I'm not sure about Baltimore's offense. Probably move Prater up a little bit. Dawson from San Francisco. You know, is he going to be the kicker? I know they made the change. You know, I might move Janikowski up. The problem is the offense even going to be able to get over midfield? I mean, that's a true concern right there. Josh Brown from the Giants, I might move up a little bit from 8. But I might move Hartley up from 14 and even Robbie Gould from 15. Because I think the Bears will be able to move the ball, and I think they're going to have more scoring opportunities. But again, not a lot of argument from me there. Kickers are kickers. I mean, you need a consistent kicker that's going to give you the points. And if you're in a league like I am where you get points or lose points for missed field goals, you want to get an accurate field goal kicker. So a lot of it's going to depend on your scoring league and what you're looking for there. Now, when it comes to defense and special teams, I think you don't want to reach too high to draft a defense. But if you can get one of those defense that gets a lot of turnovers and scores a lot of pick sixes and has a good return game, that could be the difference between making your playoffs in your fantasy league and winning a championship, depending on how many points that defense can put up. And again, it might be personal preference. What do you think? Do you put a value on your defense and special teams, or do you just wait and take what's available? And I think you got a couple of really good defenses in Seattle and San Francisco. And even Houston, I think, has a really good defense. And those are the top 3 according to ESPN. My argument here, though, is they have the Bears at 4. I don't agree with the Bears that high. You know, new staff. They lost their leader in Urlacher. I know they got Briggs, but I'm just not sold on the Bears' defense. I think the Bears' defense has declined. So I'm not sure if I'm going number 4 there. The 3 defenses I think that should move up. Actually, 4 defenses. They got the Bengals at 6. And I think that is a defense that's not talked about that much, that's been together for a whole year again. And I think they're going to make some noise this year. So that's a defense to look at, folks. And they got the Rams at 9. Don't underestimate that Rams defense. That's a pretty solid group in St. Louis. You might want to take a look there. And I think the 2 very underrated defenses in this list, at number 12, the Cowboys. That team had a bunch of injuries on defense last year and still played okay. Now they're getting all their playmakers back. I think they're going to surprise a few teams on defense. So you might want to consider moving Dallas up from 12. And then they got the Buccaneers at 14. I wouldn't jump them up into like a top 5 defense, but I think they're higher than a 14, to be honest with you. Especially with the addition of Revis. He's going to make that whole defense better. That guy is beast. You can't overlook that he is now in the secondary, and if they're not going to throw his way, that's going to give opportunities for other players on that defense. And if they throw his way, he's going to pick. So there's some opportunity there. But again, with that said, it all depends on what you want to do with your defense and your kickers. You know, I always like to have a very consistent kicker because I like to get those points there. And I got to have an accurate kicker because the league I play in gets points off for misses. And then defense, I don't want to reach and take a defense too early. And so if you can't get one of those top defenses, if you haven't filled your roster out, just wait a little bit because I think there's some good defenses. And I mentioned the 4 that I think could move up and be very serviceable for you. The Bengals, the Rams, the Cowboys, and the Buccaneers. So that wraps up my fantasy series, folks. Again, if you haven't joined the league and you want to start playing, go to FWO365.com. A lot of help there to get started. If you're a novice, go ahead, get started. There's a lot of help there. If you're an expert fantasy player, go in and compete. But go check it out, folks. Fantasy World Order, FWO365.com. As always, my pleasure to bring you the ramble tonight. Have a great weekend. I'll see you at the next red light, folks.